Every year, when most people were thinking about filing their income taxes, I started thinking of how I made it to another year of being strong and living my life, making sure that I had not let him have any control of my head or how I conducted my everyday living morals and standards. I always kept my family and friends in my thoughts, near my heart, wondering if they were staying strong or they were emotionally hurting as I did throughout the years, but especially on that day every year. While always wondering if I should bring it to light and talk to them about it. Sometimes I did. I always remembered that horrible night of what that monster had done to Gary and myself. On the morning when I should have been going to work and mailing those taxes like everyone else, I was talking to policemen and investigators and going to the hospital. I always wondered why I was chosen. How did this monster find me? How did he pick and choose all his victims? Over the years, I came to the realization that he thought of us as his victims, but no, we are the survivors. He is the monster. I realize how extremely fortunate I am to be here today, unlike all his homicide victims. My mother and father, who had been awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning with news of what had happened, came to the house along with other family members. My mother and father have long passed, but I know they are up there watching today and are rejoicing that my life continued and the monsters was over 2 years ago. I had a tattoo of an angel placed on my shoulder in honor of my mother always watching over me. I wondered if it had to designate I was being protected from the monsters like him forevermore. I can never forget the emotional impact this attack had on so many. That morning after the attack, one officer who was questioning me put his head down. As the tears started to fall, I blankly looked at him, and he explained to me that he was one of the officers that had patrolled the area earlier that night in hopes of preventing another attack and capturing the monster. Being in somewhat a state of shock, I mentioned my taxes had been in the kitchen where the monster had spent a lot of his time. An officer graciously picked them up and guaranteed me he would personally mail them. With as much that had happened to me, I felt compassion for him, for his dedication and desire to protect people's lives. I often wondered if he still thinks of that day, and if he is listening, thank you. Although with so many others, I was ecstatic when I received word that DeAngelo had been arrested. But with the arrest, my mind started running in many directions. So many memories returned with thoughts of what my future would entail, along with concerns from my family and friends and how they would deal with this continuing nightmare. Wanting to cooperate with all the legal proceedings that would be requested from me, I realized people who I had not told would learn of this heinous crime I had gone through. For 40 years, I lived with this nightmare, as so many other victims had. I always refused to accept pity or sympathy from anyone. I do suggest to anyone who is a victim of a heinous crime, utilize the resources available to you. Accept the love and support of your family and friends, and never be ashamed. The greatest achievement I have had thus far in my life is my son, a fantastic, loving, and productive, successful young man, now 26 years old. As a mother, I did my best to always shield him from unnecessary pain. But after the capture, I had to tell my son a horrific event in my life. I listened to his rightful rage, and then all his understanding and support I needed followed. Thank you, son. Not only did the monster inflict hurt and pain on me, but he did it to all I loved 40 years ago and still to this day. I had just begun a career with the state of California and was taking night classes at a nearby college. After the attack, I took some time off from work, but never returned to school. I often wondered what my life could have been, if not for the monster's actions. I always believed, don't dwell on the past, just move forward, and I did. I took all those negatives and tried to turn them into positives as best I could throughout my life. I was asked how I felt about his pleas to the crimes he has been charged with. I think it is unfortunate that the prosecutors were not able to charge him with all the rape cases, but I understand that to move forward and lock him up brings some closure to the horrific crimes he committed, with assurances that he will never hurt anyone ever again. I think that rather than dragging out a death sentence case that many of the victims may not have lived long enough to see end, knowing he is sitting in a cell, taken out of society, never to see the light of day again, and paying for what he did to so many people is justice for me. Knowing because of his heinous crimes it helped change our justice system's process for rape victims, along with the use of DNA to help solve cases, brings some additional closure for me. I want to thank the justice system for all the hours and dedication to this case for over 44 years. Thank you to the district attorney's office and all the investigators and prosecutors whose diligent work made this day possible. The staff from the Victim Advocacy Program were beyond helpful in assisting me throughout these past few years. Thank you to the judges, policemen, whose lives have been scarred having to deal with this horrific monster. Last but not least, my old friends that supported me and all my new friends that have been here for me. Time to soldier on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wish to be heard as to that count? All right, thank you. Do we need a second to, not very good. Mr. Ho, I understand also that of the victims that were scheduled at the very end of the day, that's going to have to be rescheduled?
Yes, Your Honor. Unfortunately, there was an illness in the family, and so that will have to be rescheduled.
All right, thank you. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
All right, thank you. This is count 18. Mr. DeAngelo entered a guilty plea to the charge of kidnapping with intent to commit robbery of Jane Doe number 5, having occurred on May 14, 1977. The County of Sacramento violation of Penal Code Section 209. In addition, defendant admitted to the following uncharged acts: rape of Jane Doe number 5, having occurred on May 14, 1977, in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 261, robbery of Jane Doe number 5 and John Doe number 4, having occurred on May 14, 1977, in the County of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 211. Furthermore, false imprisonment of Jane Doe number 5 and John Doe number 4, having occurred on May 14, 1977, in the County of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 236. Is there any victim or member of the victim's family that wish to be heard as to count 18 or any of the uncharged acts?
Yes, I would. First of all, I want to thank Amy Holloway and Tin and my good friend Carol Daly that I consider rock stars today. My date is May 14th, 1977. I was new to California, 22, just married, in my first home with my new puppy and my husband next to me. I'm not that same person today. I forgive you. Kindness is not a sign. Kindness is a sign of strength, not weakness. This is for me, not for you. My Lord and Savior taught me this. Your life, you have lived over 70 years carefree, and the victims and the survivors have had long-lasting scars. I've had 5 German Shepherds to try to feel safe, and I've never lived alone. Today is for my granddaughter because I want to teach her to be brave and strong, and it's for my family and friends that have stood by me. I asked Carol to read a short, it's a message that my son gave me, this necklace for Mother's Day, and that's right, I'd cry if I read it.
This is printed on the back of the necklace that her son gave her, and it says, "Always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and that you are loved more than you know."
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll proceed to the next uncharged acts. The defendant admitted uncharged acts as follows: burglary in the first degree, Jane Doe number 35 having occurred on December 2nd, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 459, attempted rape of Jane Doe number 35 having occurred on December 2nd, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 664/261. My understanding is we have a member from the victim advocate wishes to read a letter. Go ahead.
This is for Jane Doe number 35. As a Christian, I have forgiven you. I hope he will ask the Lord to forgive him and be sincere about it. Jane Doe number 35.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, looks like the next one is count 22. On that matter, it's a charge of kidnapping with intent to commit robbery, Jane Doe number 9, that having occurred on October 21st, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 209. In addition, the defendant admitted the following uncharged acts: rape of Jane Doe number 9 having occurred October 21st, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 261, robbery of Jane Doe number 5 and John Doe number 8 having occurred on October 21st, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, a violation of Penal Code Section 211, false imprisonment of Jane Doe number 9 and John Doe number 8 having occurred on October 21st, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 236. It looks like the people would note for the record that Jane Doe number 5 has suffered a stroke. Do you wish to be heard, Mr. Hope?
The people would just note, Your Honor, that the victim's daughter in that particular uncharged case has submitted a written impact statement that is included in the defendant's file.
All right. And are you asking me to read that or read that before sentencing?
Read it before sentencing, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Before we proceed on to incident 48/49, do we need to have the victims brought in?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you. Are we ready to proceed? All right, thank you. The defendant admitted to the following uncharged acts: kidnapping with intent to commit robbery of Jane Doe number 32 having occurred on October 29th, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 209, rape of Jane Doe number 32 having occurred on October 29th, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 261, robbery of Jane Doe number 32 and John Doe number 15 having occurred on October 29th, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 211, false imprisonment of Jane Doe number 32 and John Doe number 15 having occurred on October 29th, 1977 in the County of Sacramento, violation of Penal Code Section 236. Is there any victim or member of victim's family that wish to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I am the mother of Debbie Strauss Papato. She was the 26th victim of this monster on October 29th, 1977, in the dead of night. An uninvited evil entered my daughter's home. He had his face covered. He had weapons. He had a gun, a knife, a bright flashlight that he blinded the unsuspecting victims, along with the supply of shoelaces, intended to further render his victims incapacitated. He spent hours raining his terror through threats and unspeakable abuse. He would have his victims shaking in fright. He would leave his victim shaking in fright while he went to the kitchen to eat, only to return, and then the abuse and vileness started all over again. As a mother, well, first, this experience changed her life and the family's life forever. As a mother, I have often thought how aggrieved this monster's mother must be. After all mothers want to be proud of their children. Many years passed without much hope of finding out who this monster was, without much hope. This thanks to the diligence of our law enforcement and to the competency of the district attorneys involved in this case, this monster was outsmarted. Today is a day of celebration and a day of healing. Although my daughter passed away in 2016, she was a survivor. She demonstrated her characteristics by being kind, loving, and caring for people who were less fortunate. Her children and grandchildren are left with the memory of a fair and just person. The legacy you leave for your children and your grandchildren is one of a serial murderer, a serial rapist, a serial thief, and a serial terrorist. Unlike your victims, whose pleas for their life were ignored, your plea was granted. How sad. You should be sent to the toughest prison in California. What a despicable piece of humanity you are. Today, Joseph DeAngelo, you have been defeated. I would like to thank Carol Daly for her compassion that she showed my daughter in all of the interviews. In a world my daughter no longer trusted, she felt comfort with Carol. I will be forever grateful. This is my beautiful daughter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just bear with me. Good afternoon, Your Honor, counsel, investigators, fellow victims and survivors. My name is Sandy James. I am the sister of Debbie Strauss-Papato. Victim number 32. I'm here today on behalf of my deceased sister, family, and myself. I would like to offer sincere gratitude to the many people involved in capturing and bringing this man to justice. On May 7th, 2016, almost 2 years before Joseph DeAngelo was captured, my beautiful sister Debbie passed after a 10-month battle with cancer. It saddens me to my core that my sister was not here to witness DeAngelo's capture and incarceration. After many decades of suffering, witnessing his capture, meeting so many other victims and survivors would have been incredibly healing for Debbie. Instead, she went to her grave, still haunted by the evil monster that invaded her life. DeAngelo's arrest brought about much pain and emotion, as if it were happening all over again. Although I'm happy for his arrest, I've begun a whole new cycle of grieving for my sister. This man, this evil monster, whose name we all now know, terrorized our community, causing fear and anxiety for years. I remember my father buying deadbolt locks for all the doors and windows and searching the street and around our home each night before bed. Windows were no longer open to allow the cool evening breezes in following long, hot days during summer months in Sacramento. I remember the EAR, East Area Rapists, volunteer vehicles, driving around our neighborhood as I walked home from school. While babysitting neighborhood children, every sound was amplified by the fear swirling through our community. Our German Shepherd Haas became my after-school companion, always by my side. We were living in a horror movie every day. On October 29th, 1977, our horror movie became reality. Before this day, JJD, the evil monster, had stalked my sister for weeks, if not months. I believe he entered her first home, where he stole a couple items, increasing an already fearful time. My sister and her husband, newly married, had just bought a new house and moved into their new home, the first in their cul-de-sac. This evil monster entered their home while they were away, leaving him several options for re-entering later. In the dark of the night, like the pathetic creep he is, JJD invaded my sister and her husband's home while they slept, blinding them with his flashlight and yelling at them. After bounding them, placing dishes on my brother-in-law's back, and moving my sister to another room, my sister was raped repeatedly, terrorized, and threatened for hours, 4 hours. At times, DeAngelo presented himself as the tough, evil monster, while in an instant, cowering, running through her home, yelling to his mommy he was sorry, and why was she, mommy, making him do this? DeAngelo ate, drank, and stole items, including Debbie's wedding ring and birthstone ring given to her by our parents. A year after the brutal attack, Debbie began getting phone calls with heavy breathing and evil threats, reigniting her worst fears. The day after the attack, the morning, I awoke to voices, my sister and my brother-in-law at the time, my mom, my dad, Instantly, I knew something was terribly wrong. As I slowly made my way toward their voices, I was horrified by what I saw. My sister was white as a ghost. Her wrists and ankles were red and swollen. Her eyes, too, red and swollen. Her body covered in black fingerprint dust. An image that continues to haunt me. After 4 hours of being tightly bound, Debbie experienced numbness for months in her hands. I was 16 at the time. This was in the 70s, a different time. We didn't really talk about these things. High school for me was a difficult time. The thing DeAngelo stole that night, never to be restored, was my sister, my only sibling, and who she was before this horrific night. DeAngelo stole Debbie's sense of safety, feeling secure, and her happy, free spirit. My sister, Debbie, was never the same. As Debbie tried to recover from her worst nightmare come true, she struggled with her sense of self. Her relationship suffered. Debbie lived with constant fear, always wondering, was he living nearby? Was he in her grocery store? Was he at the concert, the theme park, parties, the movie theater? Where was this monster? Debbie worried the monster was coming for our mom and myself. He had threatened to the night he invaded her life. When the neighbor living behind my parents and my home was robbed with only a single ring stolen, Debbie felt it was a message that my mom and I were next. This invasion from this evil monster affected our whole family in horrifying ways. My parents, myself, Debbie's children, my children, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, but none as severely as my dear sister, for the torture she endured physically and mentally. DeAngelo's actions are so far-reaching, and no punishment 40 plus years later will be enough to rectify the harm he has caused for our family and so many more. I always found myself looking into the faces of men through the years and wondering, could that be him? Thinking about the many sketches that had been drawn. Does that guy look like him? Around 2002, my 3 daughters were on a swim team. We had practices every day. We also had a man I had been noticing walking through our community on the roads constantly, clearly homeless. He had this look about him, and he reminded me of one of the sketches in particular. I was worried that it could be him. When I saw this man, I would look at him carefully and think, is he the right age? Could this possibly be this man? One day, when I arrived at swim practice with my daughters, this man was sitting poolside, watching the children. It startled me unbelievably, and I went to the head coach and I spoke to her and told her there was an uninvited man who I was worried about watching the children. We did call the authorities, and they did come. It wasn't DeAngelo, but I feared it was. This is how it affected our whole lives. Constantly wondering, is this him? Who is this man? Where is he? Is it coming back? DeAngelo, okay, move on here. I hold you, JJD, it's hard to even say your name, responsible for my sister's untimely death. Debbie died of esophageal cancer, the center of your throat, your chest, where you stifle your voice and hold deep, dark worries. Through the years, paranoia set in for Debbie, controlling her thoughts. Imagine never feeling a sense of safety and peace. Your thoughts continually haunting you and chipping away at your soul and your happiness. Her relationships suffered. Just know that, as awful as it sounds, Debbie did rise above in many forms. She had 4 beautiful children, 2 granddaughters who were the light of her life, and she loved fiercely. She had many dear friends. She held a job she loved. Our family had its struggles, but never stopped supporting or loving one another. Indelible emotional scars are what we have left. There are not enough ugly words to describe you, Joseph DeAngelo. I don't believe you have a soul, but if there is a sliver of one somewhere in there, I hope it pains you knowing your children, grandchildren, friends, if you had any, now know the evil monster you are and the betrayals you thrust upon their lives. Your family is also your victims. You are judged on earth, but more importantly, by God. I always knew you were a coward, but now the world knows what a truly pathetic coward you are. What made you think you had the right to implode so many lives because yours was filled with mommy issues, body images, a small penis, and a sad, pathetic existence? You are a coward with no soul, no human decency, true evil. Why did you commit these heinous crimes? How could you do these things? You took the sister I knew from me that night. I have also been broken through this nightmare. With time, I will heal. I will be okay. Debbie didn't get that chance. I believe in God, and your sorry, pathetic self, JJD, will meet your judgment day soon. When you see a beautiful angel with wings helping to escort your evil self to the flames of hell, that's my sister. I know forgiveness is important to heal one's soul. Currently, I don't have anything close to forgiveness in my heart. Perhaps one day this will change. I asked the court to sentence this man harshly. He has already invoked 40 plus years prison sentence to victims and families. Pelican Bay seems appropriate. JJD deserves the worst possible environment where he can live in fear as his victims did. And to my sister and my dad, who passed 1 year before her, you can now rest in peace. We got him. This is her. Look at her face. Be a man. For once in your life, be a man. Look at her. It's okay. You'll see her with her wings soon. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was tough. I'm Irma Nordine, and I am Debbie Strauss's sister, or aunt. She was like a sister to me. She was 9 years old. I was 9 years old when she was born, and they lived with us while her father served in Japan. And so she became a little sister to me. When Debbie called me the day after the rape happened. We talked a lot. I went to her immediately, and her voice was so shaky, and understandably her emotions were all over the place. But there was one thing that she asked of me, and that was, please don't tell Grandma and Grandpa. She was very close to her grandparents. But today, I'm looking evil in the face. Yet the sentence imposed on you is a mere pittance of the sentence you imposed on my niece. Her prison had no bars, yet her prison cell in which she lived out her life was at times more restrictive than the one in which you will live out your sorry, miserable life. You exerted power over her and made her fear you. You no longer have any power. You are just an ordinary coward. You used a gun and a knife, a flashlight, and shoelaces, which seems so simple, but you used them under darkness of night, and you overpowered before you could become overpowered yourself. How pathetic to use your training as a peace officer to take advantage of good people and commit such crimes. Many people have wondered, why would one do such shameful deeds? That question remains unanswered. Jesus said, for what comes out of a man comes from his heart. That is what makes him unclean. You, Joseph DeAngelo, are unclean. Since you have no remorse, you shall remain unclean. Today is about us, though, not about you, because goodness and light has overcome your evilness and darkness. You are powerless and insignificant. You are a mere speck in this room filled with brightness and goodness. You will never, ever cast a shadow of hatred or rain terror again. It is indeed a good day. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, we need to pause for a moment to switch somebody up to the front row.
Certainly, absolutely. Whenever you're ready, take your time.
My name is Courtney Strauss. I am Debbie and Robert Strauss's daughter. My mother, Debbie Strauss, and father, Robert Strauss, were the 26 victims of this evil man. I was born 3 years after this brutal attack. I grew up in a house where my parents hardly ever got along. I can remember when I was 3 years old, them fighting from different rooms and telling me to go to tell my mother or father what they had to say. When I was 6 years old, my father stuck a gun in his mouth and told me to go tell my mother, if she didn't stop yelling, that he was going to kill himself. I'm losing my place, sorry. My mother would have bouts of depression and never leave her room for a week at a time. Things that would happen, like a child cutting their hair, would end up in an all-out breakdown. My mother would get up several times a night to check the locks and look in on us and stick her finger under our noses to make sure we were still breathing. I don't believe my mother had much sleep since her rape happened. She was always looking over her shoulder. She always believed someone was watching her. There was always some invisible boogeyman who we did not know.
I never understood why any of this happened. Was it my fault? Was it something I did? When I was 10 years old, my parents divorced. Both of them fell apart, but my mother especially. She was terrified of being home alone. There was always some noise she heard the night before and couldn't sleep. So I had to get up and take care of what needed to be taken care of. I had to take care of disciplining my brother and sister because she had no will to do so anymore. When I started developing and turning into a woman, every time I would leave the house, there was always a comment on what I was wearing. It was either too tight, too low cut, too revealing, and I was going to be raped. For someone who was 12 to hear no matter what they did or wore, they were going to be raped, it was hard to understand. My mother and I also had a very codependent relationship, and at a very young age, I understood that I had to protect her, that she was fragile and her feelings could change at a moment's notice. For 16 years of my life, I had no idea why my mother, or my father for that matter, were the way they were. When I was 16 years old, my mother sat me down and told me the story of the East Area rapist, something I had never heard before. I was astonished, emotional, and irrational. For a moment in my head, I even thought, is there a possibility he could be my father? Rational thinking, of course. There was no way, being that it was 3 years before I was born. My mother told me that day when he was caught, she was going to look him into the eyes and testify to what he had done to her, to my father, and to our family. Unfortunately, she did not get to see that day in court. She died the day before Mother's Day in 2016. My mother had to deal with many demons that you left behind, but she was a survivor. She lived a full life. She had 4 children and a loving family and many friends. My aunts and grandma and I are here today to speak for her because we knew how important it was to her to have her voice heard. It is disgusting to me that this man got to live 40 years without punishment, watching his children grow, his grandchildren grow, and living a life. No matter how long his sentence may be, he won't serve that much. But it gives me a small sense of peace knowing that there's a special corner of hell that he will spend in eternity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Robert Stroud, John Doe, number 15. Our lives were forever changed that night. We were newlywed. She was a shy, naive 22-year-old that up until that night felt safe with me. Never again would she feel safe with me or anybody else. She lived in a total fear of your return. She blamed me for failing her. I loved her more than anybody before her, mother, father, sister, or brothers. The guilt I felt crushed me. I couldn't do anything to help her, so I enabled her destructive behavior. It affected our life and our children and our extended family. I lost the love of my life and believe the rape contributed to her ultimate demise from stomach cancer. I hope you suffer every day until you die alone in prison.
Thank you. Ms. Holiday, does that conclude the victims as to that count?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it true we have one final one today?
Yes, we need a moment to transition.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Ho.
Ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. This is count 21, in charge of kidnapping with intent to commit robbery of Jane Doe, number 8, having occurred on October 1st, 1977, the County of Sacramento violation, Penal Code Section 209. In addition, defendants admitted to the following uncharged acts: rape of Jane Doe, number 8, having occurred on October 1st, 1977, in the County of Sacramento violation, Penal Code Section 261. Robbery of Jane Doe, number 8, and John Doe, number 7, having occurred on October 1st, 1977. In the County of Sacramento violation, Penal Code Section 211, and then false imprisonment, Jane Doe, number 8, John Doe, number 7, having occurred October 1st, 1977. The County of Sacramento violation, Penal Code Section 236. Any victim or victim's family member that wish to be heard at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. We're ready.
I'm ready. One second. Just as a bit of a reminder, everybody submitted written victim impact statements. You did not. There's no requirement to do so. I only bring that up so I can remind you that we have a court reporter, and I know you want every word of this to be accurate in the record. So just kind of be mindful of that when you're speaking, so that she can keep up with you.
Okay.
Otherwise, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. So I want to start this off by saying I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to be here. And this is going to be all from my memory. And I want to say that I have the utmost respect for the court. And I also want to say that I have the utmost respect for law enforcement doing their job. You know, I know that they provide a lot of the freedoms that I have in society when they're honest and they do good work. When they're honest and they do good work. I appreciate that. This is going to be different because this case is different than the other cases. And I have a different point of view and perspective because I'm a male. And I am right smack dab ground zero in the middle of the East Area rapist. I'm 21 years old at the time. I've been living in the neighborhood for 9 or 10 years. And apparently I walked a lot of the same ground as Mr. DeAngelo. And I want to say that Mr. DeAngelo, this is about me and him. He stalked me. This wasn't about my girlfriend. And by the way, I haven't announced myself. My name is Victor George Hayes, Joe. And my girlfriend's name is Rhonda Ortiz. Victor George Hayes. Rhonda Ortiz. Not Jane Doe, John Doe. So I've come to know, after this man got caught, I've realized that my paths crossed with him a couple of times. Probably more. Only he knows that right now. So I'm going to start off by letting you know how I know this man stalked me. So in 1974, when I was 18 years old, I was working for the summer in Bucks Lake, California, Plumas County. And I did that every summer from the time I was 14 till I believe I was 22 years old. And the man that I worked for also caretaked the PG&E campground there. And he had a dude string. I started off as one of the young boys and eventually wound up being the, head wrangler, the oldest boy and young man there. So there was an incident, and I believe it was in 1974 when I was 18 years old, where we had an event, a thing that we provided. Instead of going on the hourly horse rides, we did this thing that we called the Moonlight Ride, to where we went out, rode out 45 minutes to a camp spot, barbecued hot dogs, drank soda, ate chips, and came back right at dusk. So one day we're getting ready to go do this, might have been the month of August. And my counterpart came over to me and he said, "See that guy over there? He's a sheriff." And I thought, okay, kind of looked at him. He had some clothes on, like a sheriff uniform, but no insignias. I thought that was kind of odd. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we got reserve deputy sheriffs in Plumas County, or we got sheriffs in Plumas County. Maybe this is what he is. So I'm in the back. I'm not the lead. I'm in the back. He's in the back. 15 minutes into the ride, we're conversing and we're talking. And I remember asking him his name, and I remember that it was a common name. And I asked him, well, where are you a sheriff at? And he said some name of some little town, someplace, and I didn't recognize it. Kind of had a weird name, kind of. Exeter? And he said it was, I believe he said it was by Visalia. And I thought it odd. What's he doing in Plumas County with kind of a mimicking a police officer? What's that all about? So we get to this spot where there's a creek that goes across the road, and the horses stop the water. He did something to the horse, pulled up and spurred it. At the same time, the horse threw his ass in a creek. 6, 7, 8 years of me doing this, I saw people fall off. I never saw anybody get bucked off. He was the only one. How about this? The name of the horse? This is the first of many things like this between me and him in this incident. The name of the horse was Snake. So now here's the second time. So probably about 6 months before he came into my house, before I'd actually rented the place that he visited, I was at a liquor store next to the Lucky Store on La Riviera Drive in Glenbrook, new part of Glenbrook. And I was in my transportation car. I have a 67 Chevelle, a black 67 Chevelle. Remember that? Very vocal in the neighborhood. Everybody sees it in the neighborhood. They know me driving around. But I'm in my transportation car. This makes me feel old when I say this. It's a 1953 Chevrolet, 4-door, had a visor on it, 6-cylinder in it. It was my transportation car. So I'm in front of the liquor store, and I got the family dog with me. And I'm out in front. I'd already been in, and I'm out in front. I wasn't buying liquor. I don't smoke. I don't know what I was there for. Might have been there to buy a magazine. Up comes this guy. And he walks by the dog. And he acts like he's going to kick the dog. Good dog, smart dog, good judge of character. Not a mean dog, not a biting dog per se. But I told the dog, if that guy kicks you, bite him. He didn't like that. He got nasty. We had words. I thought we were going to throw blows. He went in the store. I didn't run off. I stayed. He came out. I went to the car to like their back seat or whatever. I had a bat back there to make it handy. He's bigger than me, older than me. He wouldn't let it go. He was pissed off. I apologized to him. I backed down. I told him I'm sorry. He started walking to his car. Some kind of a Dodge vehicle, 2-door hardtop, dark in color, kind of a quasi, maybe hot rod or whatever, but I would like consider it maybe a geek hot rod. So I wrote the license plate down on a piece of paper and put it in the ashtray. And I remember thinking, is this the guy that's going around in the neighborhood breaking in and raping people. I remember thinking that because it's been going on for about a year. So now I know this, but I didn't know it at the time. And I had to think about this after he got caught. So I feel that when he came into my house, I know that he was watching and he knew that my girlfriend was there, but she didn't live there. So I feel that it was kind of like he was there she was there kind of at the wrong time. So he did all of the normal things, all the things that you hear him say that he did at all these other break-ins, he did. And one thing, there wasn't much talking going, there wasn't any talking going on between me and him because I kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to instigate him or aggravate him. But he did say one thing to me. He was only at my house for about 30 minutes because he got ran off. He got interrupted because a couple of friends of mine knocked on the door and scared him off. So he wasn't done. I don't know what he was going to do. He let my dog off its chain and it was in the house. I later learned that he don't like dogs and he bludgeons them to death. So he was probably going to kill my dog. What else he was going to do, I'm not quite sure. I never really feared for my life because he doesn't scare me or intimidate me in that way. I want to tell you about one thing that he did. He told me that he was going to party with Sharon. Put the gun to my face, pulled the hammer back, and said, I'm going to party with Sharon. That would be my mom. Right then and there, I knew that this guy had investigated me, stalked me, knew about me, put effort into it. So now I want to tell you what happened later. I got this list here that I've kept for a long time from the Sacramento Bee that chronologically talks about, his rapes. He's in my house on October 1st, 1977. So then he commits a rape on October 21st, of which you guys just talked about, I believe. Maybe October 29th he commits a rape, not maybe he does. Now on November 10th he commits a rape on La Riviera Drive. Let me tell you about that. So that's 40 days after he's at my house and he threatens to rape my mom. My parents live in a house off of La Riviera Drive, 149 Water Glen Circle. Backyard backs right up, single-story home, backyard backs right up to the levee, go through the gate, go down to the American River Parkway, go over the top of the levee. If you go west, about 2,000 yards down that levee, you're where this rape occurred at Margaret Wardlow's house. She's 13 years old. Now I ask you, he did that crime to her. Do you think he really went out looking to violate a 13-year-old that night? I think he's snooping around my parents' house. I think he had the full intent of coming in to my parents' house. So, changing the subject here a little bit. I want to talk about what the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office did to me, how they treated me. So, I want to tell you that when they responded to my house, this was completely on the down low. No sirens. Everybody came in an individual vehicle. 3 female detectives and 1 male detective. That's it. That's all that came. the male detective showing up first. Then the female detective, who I've heard her name mentioned already, who consoled my girlfriend at the time. And then 2 forensic female detectives, one white, one black, showed up at my house. The detective's taking me outside to the car to talk to me. He just wants to know, do I know who this person is? He wants a physical description. He wants a description of the weapon. And when I tell him I don't know right off the bat who this individual is, that's pretty much, oh, he asked me one other question. He did ask me one other question. Have you had any kind of involvement with a police officer lately? He did ask me that, but it just kind of went like this because my head's kind of spinning and all this is going on. So 2 times to the car. Second time in the car, out of the car, back in the house. The 2 female detectives are in my kitchen doing their fingerprinting. Now you could ask me, out of all this event right here, what would be the one event that left the biggest impression on you or traumatized you the most? And I'm going to tell you what it was. Those 2 female detectives were laughing in my kitchen at 2:45 or 3 o'clock a.m. Laughing. That hurts bad. I've carried that around my whole life. Every time I think about this, I think about that. Not what he did. And he did nasty, heinous things. He violated my 17-and-a-half-year-old girlfriend. She's a nice girl. You've traumatized her, Joe, so bad, she's disappeared. I don't know where she is. She can't face this. You've profoundly affected her life. You defiled and violated her. She's soft, smells good, sweet, honest, caring, loving person. Terrible, man. You should be ashamed of yourself. So now there's more. So now I get asked to go to the sheriff's station on Monday, both of us, to give samples, forensic samples, hair samples for the rape kit, I imagine. So we go down there. I go upstairs. There's a sergeant behind a desk. Yeah, I'm expecting you. He's fiddle-faddling around. I say, Sarge. I don't know if he's a sergeant or not, but I say, Sarge. I say, look, I'm not real happy with your detectives that were at my house Saturday morning. They were laughing. You think this unprofessionalism may have something to do with the fact that you can't catch this guy? He got red in the face. He stood up, put his finger in my chest. He said, listen, you SOB, you'll knock that shh off or I'll put you in jail. Right in front of my girlfriend, who 48 hours earlier, got raped by this creep. I'm going, what did I do? Why am I the villain here? What the heck is going on here? So we went to the bathroom, came back. I said, Sarge, how do I get a copy of the police report? And he told me, you'll wait. Those things take 14 to 20 days. When the time comes, you can pay your $17 like everybody else and get a copy. That was it. 43 years or 41 years. No one ever wanted to talk to me. Nobody talked to me about that. 3 weeks later, I went down to the police station to get a copy of the police report. They wouldn't give it to me. Never got a copy of the police report till a year ago. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So I want to tell you what makes this guy the worst of the worst. we're already hearing this testimony. We already know all these heinous things that he's done. It's despicable. It's immature. It's disgusting. But I'll tell you what makes him the worst of the worst. He's a public servant. And he's a police officer. He put his hand on a book and swore to uphold the law and swore to be an officer and a gentleman. Each and every sheriff and police officer nationwide ought to be enraged by this guy for, defecating on the honor. It's disgusting. It's cowardly to have to sneak around in the middle of the night, like I heard one of these other ladies say a few minutes ago. You use the tools afforded by me, the public, to help you do your job, and you turned them on me. You can't be a man and do it like a man. You know all those Western magazines that you read, Frontier Times and True West? I know you read them. I know you know about all those outlaws. I do too. You can't pull their jockstrap. You're violating women. You're not robbing banks. You're not being a man. Weak, Joe. So here's the deal. Straight up. This guy was working when he came to my house. Can I show you some paperwork I have, Your Honor? Written by Mr. DeAngelo?
It's up to you if you want to submit some paperwork, sir.
Yeah, I want the judge to have that, and I'll explain to him what it is. I want it back, obviously. Yeah, I want it returned, please. So what you're looking at is you're looking at a copy of the police report. Front page, copy of the police report. Okay? That has a date and a time that the guy's in my house. Front page. With a receipt from where I got it, from the Auburn City Police Department. We're going to talk about that in a minute also. So then you'll look and you'll see that the next is a work report that he did that has the date and time. Friday night before he came to my house, he's at work. And now you'll turn the page and you'll see the report that he wrote, that on the day that he committed the crime against me and my girlfriend, he's at work. At work! That's just how casual this is for this guy. So I've already seen people testify. I've seen his former boss who he threatened to kill for firing him, and nothing was done about that. You know, I've seen that man explain that Mr. DeAngelo likes to work, wants to work overtime, and is familiar with working all different kinds of shifts. So you might ask me, well, Vic, you're in Sacramento. He's in Auburn. I live right up, very easy to get on either on Highway 50 or go up Watt Avenue and get on Highway 80. Really easy for this man to run some kind of work-related errand and stop by Vic's house. Weapon looks like a service revolver. Flashlight looks like, work flashlight. And he's got trousers on that look like they could be work trousers. The two individuals that knocked on my door that wanted to come in at 2:30 in the morning and scared him off, each told me individually, apart from themselves after this incident, that he went over the back fence and was seen by someone on a road, on a street behind my house. They saw him leaving the scene, going in the direction that these two people told me there's a church off the La Riviera Drive with a parking lot. They saw a car parked in the parking lot that looked like a patrol car. And it wasn't a Sac County patrol car. This guy drove an issued vehicle, I think, down to my neighborhood and committed this crime. Yet, what are we doing about that? I can't get any answers about this right here. No one wants to speak on this. No one wants to go there. Just kind of like on the down low, let's let this go by. I have the right to know. He's a public servant. So now I want to tell you about getting that paperwork right there. That paperwork was denied for 16 months that it existed by the Auburn City Police Department. That's Freedom of Information Act. He's a public employee. Did I tell you that? So there's a person in this room that showed compassion for me and worked with me and has the knowledge and started looking into this. And I'm told that it was only under the threat of attorneys being involved made them give it up. Now, what are they hiding? I believe, Your Honor, they broke the law. And I also believe, Your Honor, that my rights are not being fully, I'm not being fully represented here. That's very frustrating and irritating to me in light of what's going on in society right now. That we all need to be treated equal. I don't think I'm being treated equal. Very frustrating. No accountability. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody wants to look into this. Look, man, I'm just going to say it. Like everybody feels out there on the street that's watching this. It's a full-blown joke that this guy could work for 3 years and nobody knows anything. Our police department's paramilitary. Doesn't that mean that they're like modeled after, after the military, right? So I've read before, not many times, but a few times, about an officer retiring from the military and he's getting benefits. He's a lieutenant, colonel, a general. And later on, something becomes known that was bad and wrong, and he gets disciplined for it, and he gets busted in rank, and he loses some of his retirement. How can the chief of police say he doesn't know nothing and there's no penalty? How can his employer not be held responsible for him, for what he did to me and what he did to all these people? He's a public servant. I'm paying for it. I being the public. He's using training and tools that he was afforded by John Q. Public to violate me, and no one is being held responsible for that. That's wrong. Now I want to talk to you about, respectfully, sir, about this process right here. People can explain why things are the way they are. People can make excuses for why things are the way they are. But once again, you have no accountability here. This man, criminal career, with all due respect to the people that he murdered in Southern California, if you looked at his criminal career on a whole, he's the East Area rapist. And he's not convicted of one rape. And make no mistake about it, sir, I admit is not a conviction. Matter of fact, I think it's disrespectful to the court. So here I sit here stand here. I'm a law-abiding guy. I'm watching all this go around, and I'm going to ask you, what did you do for me? What did you do for me in this matter? It doesn't matter, sir, that he has 26, and I didn't even ask you this, and I don't know if you'll explain this to me. I got ahead of myself. What time is he doing for the charges in case 21? Can you tell me what you're giving him for kidnapping with the intent to commit robbery? What is he getting time-wise?
I'd refer you to the district attorney's office. They'll tell you it's very complicated because it's 1970s law, 1980s law of what's concurrent and what's consecutive. So I'd refer you to Mr. Ho.
But have we figured that out yet?
Yes, and I'll be announcing it Friday.
And I will hear that on Friday?
Yes, sir.
And see, I got an issue with that too. Not with what you just said, but with the charges. Seems to me that's, and again, here we go. Who's responsible for this? Make no mistake about this. No mistake about this. There was no kidnapping with the intent to commit robbery. It was kidnapping with the intent to commit felonious rape by a public servant who happens to be employed as a peace officer. That's what it was. So now, here I am. You put me in this situation right here. You put me in a bad light, maybe, because people are going to say, well, he got 26 consecutive life sentences. That's not how that's supposed to work. One crime is not supposed to trump another crime. I sat in a courtroom at his last hearing, and I believe it was Judge White, and I heard him say no crime is too big for trial, for court. We all need to be represented equally. And so I asked you, what have you done for me? And you haven't done anything for me. You've afforded me this opportunity right here to speak. That man is not going to do 1 minute of time more for what he did to me. And I'm sorry, maybe you might not think maybe I'm not a big enough man to accept that, but that's wrong. I'm happy for everybody else. I feel good for everybody else. I'm happy that they got theirs, but Vic didn't get his. And he stalked me. He went after me. So here's something else that I've been asking for and I haven't got a resolution to. And Mr. Ho is aware of this. Where's these time cards? I said from the very beginning, let's lay this to rest. Shut me up. Put it to rest. And no one is going there. No one wants to go there. I'm not a bad guy. I want to know the truth. I want transparency in this matter. Those people up in the Auburn City Police Department lied about that paperwork that you got. They didn't want to divulge that. And I asked them, when I got those copies, I asked the person that gave the copies to me, is there anything else in this matter? And I was told no. But I've been led to believe that there may be more. But nobody's talking about it. So I hope that after this and me voicing this concern to the world, that, maybe we might get some definitive answers on this.
Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I certainly don't mean to cut you off. And this is your moment to be heard. But I know I'm going to have to give a court reporter a rest here a little bit. And I'm trying to decide when would be a good time to take a break. Do you think you'll be done in the next 10 minutes, or should I take a break now? It's more for her than for us.
Wow, man.
I'll go until midnight, but she needs a rest. I'm just asking, how do you want to do this?
I think you're subtly telling me to wrap it up is what you're trying to tell me to do. So let's see what I got. What did I miss here? I guess I could talk about this for a very long time because you could tell that I'm very passionate about it. and very colorful. And well, I know what else I wanted to say. I want to say that there's two people that I've never met that I want to address something to. And that would be his former boss, and that would be the man's wife. And I believe that both these people could have put an end to this long before it got to wherever it was. And because they didn't have the fortitude to do this, they got a lot of people hurt. And they hurt me. And I want them to know that they hurt me by not stepping up to the plate, doing their job, by laying down with them and giving them kids and covering for them. This man sold his house while he was in jail. How is that possible? I can't even sue him because the laws protect police and protect police departments. So I'm told I can't do nothing. He sold his house while he was in jail. Unbelievable. So I just want those people to know that personally for me, they caused me a lot of grief and discomfort. But I want to say that regardless of what you might think, this has not defined me as an individual. I mean, it's changed me, but it's made me tougher. It's made me some other things too. It's made me question authority. But it's not overwhelmed me. I don't have nightmares. I feel bad for all these people and all these women. And, you know, I want to say to Mr. DeAngelo that as a criminal, it's pretty good. And I think he's a highly intelligent individual. And now here's the other main thing that I wanted to say. I truly believe that this man has something in his pocket, knowledge or something in his pocket that allowed him to elude capture for so much time. I don't know exactly what that is, but I just know the nature of men and people. And I think that without that confidence, that he wasn't going to get caught. And I think it's more than braggadocious, you know, arrogant ego, that he couldn't have had a second life and did what he did and live in our society without looking over his shoulder all the time. He's not a drug addict. He's not an alcoholic, I understand. He just had a completely another life, and no one could have the average individual. You know, he's not Satan and he's not Christ. He's a human being. He has some qualities that allow him to do some stuff. Maybe he's tough under fire and pressure. Like I said, I know he's intelligent, but he's one sick individual. He's one really, really flawed individual. And I heard one of the other ladies, you know, berate him, and I have to concur that he's just straight up a coward. That's just all he is. I mean, to sneak around in the middle of the night. I mean, if he wasn't a coward, maybe we should have thrown blows in front of the liquor store. You know, look, I got a movement out of you. Maybe we should have done that. But to sneak around the way that you snuck around, there's just absolutely no criminal honor there, man. Not happening. So now I'll close and I'll say one other thing. I have a few friends here with me, and I'd like to thank them for their support. And now I want to tell you one other thing about this whole thing right here. This has been one journey of some pretty odd things about the way that business gets done. And whether he likes it or not, Mr. Ho has not been very informative to me in this matter. This whole matter, I've been treated like an unwanted witness. Okay, it's all about the women, but we don't want to know anything what Vic had to say or what Vic wants to do, or answer my questions. So I've been very frustrated with that. But here's the weirdness of all of this. You would think the prosecution would want to provide that for me. Didn't happen. But there's a lady sitting right here on his defense team that reached out to me, that has shown herself to be kind and compassionate and caring in this whole matter right here. And I would like to thank her, Alice, for doing that. You're a good person, and I appreciate that. And it was much needed. So I guess since we're putting this to close, that'll be the end of it. But I'd like to tell Mr. DeAngelo that they're making me go, Joe. And I got a roast in the oven that I got to go attend to.
Victor, I want you to know I heard you, every word you said, and I see you. All right?
Your Honor, I know that I get elevated a little bit. I'm trying to get my point across. I appreciate everything that you're doing, okay? And I wanted to tell you that in some regard, I kind of feel sorry for you that you have to go through all this because you're getting the brunt of this and you don't have anything to do with it. You know what I mean? And so you're earning your money here for sure. And I want to tell you that I recognize that, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. We done?
We're done if we're done. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that concludes today. We're going to reconvene tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, and we'll hear additional survivor statements. We're in recess.